market impact and transition management. I'm grateful to the UPU International Bureau to host this second part. You will see today again that know-how and technical expertise are readily available within the UPU Consultative Committee to advise and help posts implement solutions. Between tax and duty experts, we call them solution providers, or even operators, we call them volume providers. The Consultative Committee members have all been aware of this change for more than a year now. Please use the chat function for questions. Those questions will be collected by the International Bureau in the background, and I will then have the opportunity to ask those questions to the presenters. Kindly note, translation is available into Spanish and French, and you can switch on that translation accordingly in the webinar service lines. And with that, I would like to open the panel. Please, to the panelists again, my remark is please stay within the time allocated to you. This is for our panelists 10 minutes. There will be a presentation by the customs group following my short introductions, and I would like to give the floor now to the customs group. Please, floor is yours. Christophe, I hope you're online.
Yeah, all good.
Christophe Pereira. Yes, Christophe, very good to see you. Please, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Walter. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. So I would like to briefly introduce the recent work which has been carried out by the UPU Customs Group in relation to the EU customs reform. In particular, I will refer to the webinar jointly organized by the European Commission and UPU, of course, on June 2nd, and summarize the key messages and the follow-up actions. So the EU customs reform will enter into force in 2 days, on July 1st, 2026. It introduced a temporary simplified customs duty of €3 per item, mainly targeting B2C distance sales goods below €150. In terms of collection, most designated operators will prioritize IOSS flows with a DDP model, while some will still handle non-IOSS items and collect duties from the addressee. It is also important to note that certain items remain unaffected, such as gift below €45, and also goods above €150, for which customs duties will be calculated with ad valorem method. Next slide, please. Yeah. So on June 2nd, the Customs Group, in collaboration with the European Commission, organized a webinar on this reform. The event gathered around 280 participants, confirming the strong interest from the postal community. And due to the time constraint, not all questions could be addressed, and the consolidated Q&A will be shared with the DigiTax for follow-up. All materials, including recordings, presentation, and FAQ, are available on the UPU website, and in parallel, PostRep also been actively engaged through dedicated FAQ sessions and share the documentation. Next slide, please. So beyond the webinar, now the customs group continues to work and on several key questions. This includes monitoring regulatory development, particularly in the European Union, but also in the US, exploring operational solutions and developing proposals for regulatory updates. So since the last meeting, several expert team sessions have been held, focusing notably on emerging requirements and in the implementation of the electronic advanced data. So the next customs group meeting will take place on July 8. Next slide, please. So to conclude, I would say that the EU customs reform represents a major change for our sector. While important progress have been made, further clarification and coordination will be essential in the coming month. Especially, we have a deadline on October 2026, where the European Commission would like to review the current guidelines. So there is still a possibility to influence the legislative part of the EU customs reform. So I would therefore encourage continued dialogue between operators, regulator, and stakeholders, of course. Thank you very much, Walter, for your invitation, and thank you very much for your attention. I remain available, of course, for any questions.
Thank you, Christophe. In particular, also to keep to the timeline. Of course, the Consultative Committee and its solution providers and volume providers are available as observers to the customs group for any kind of questions and helps. And if there are questions in the background, the International Bureau is already collecting those questions, and I will bring them to your attention in the course of this webinar. Thank you, Christophe.
Thank you.
And with that, I would like to move to the UPU technological perspective. I have the pleasure to welcome Lati, Matata, and also Davis Trezek from the Postal Technology Center. Lati, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Walter. Just to make sure you can hear me well.
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. So greetings to everybody in this webinar. If you were in the first webinar earlier this month, we are just giving you an update on the progress made with additional information. So next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. So first of all, as always, a reminder on the overall technology strategy for this cycle. We like to put it in a single diagram where we try to capture all the actors, all the business processes. What we have added for your attention is who is using which particular technology that comes from the UPU. In particular, I draw your attention to the solution for customs processing. As of today, it is used by 179 postal operators. The network itself, PostNet, for the transfer of data between all actors, stands at 229. Additionally, we are pleased to have our wider postal sector players slowly adopting our solutions and platforms. From a carrier point of view, we have 35, and from a postal business partner point of view, we have 7, of which I will give more information. Now, what you have in terms of the for your attention are the red dots. These are all the changes and actors that we are implementing to support the DDP solution. Next slide, please. So similar to the previous webinar, we like to present the customer journey and process. Now, if you look at it as layers, the top layer is the customer experience, how you interact with the post of origin. So that first layer in blue, that's if you are an origin post, these are the activities you will do to provide a DDP service to your customer. The second layer, or the third layer, is the PTC IT tools, the technologies that have been adapted to support this service. And then the next layer is now what we call the third parties, essentially any commercial or non-commercial entity or postal operator that is helping us implement the requirements for DDP in that jurisdiction, destination jurisdiction. So in the case of the US, we have spoken about that extensively, and now we are adding on to this model the destinations for European Union. And then finally at the bottom, so it is marked US CBP, which is our US Customs and Border Protection Authority. However, we are building a solution that would then support any customs authority of destination. Now, what we are adding to this particular slide, if you just click once, is the necessary changes that we have to make to the solution to make it support, first from the US point of view, the incoming regulations that were just updated last week, and further updates will come this week. And in addition, of course, we are adapting it to support the EU. Now, the first point I would like to highlight here is we are trying to, as much as possible, reduce the impact on the sending post, on the customer, and of course on our destination posts. This is always our objective, with the intention to build a truly global DDP solution. So if I start at the third layer, which is the PTC technologies, we will be adapting our solutions to capture all the requested additional elements. When we go to the fourth layer, now the third party, we have some specific requirements from the European Customs Code related to how to implement a DDP for the 27 EU destinations. So there's some work to do here. Additionally, the European Union requirements expects the destination EU DO to be the one to pay the local customs on the duties and taxes requested in advance, and then to collect all those payments from the origin post. In terms of moving data to the third party, so currently we provide a manifest with some basic information. Additional data elements are now going to be transferred. And then finally, with regards specifically to the United States, additional organizations will be involved in evaluating the risk or the review of the postal item based on the data provided. So I do understand we are focusing on the European Union mostly today. However, the US updated requirements are coming very quickly and in parallel. Next slide, please. So as a reminder, so this is a new slide. We have, I'd say, now a mature product. We have been growing in terms of its flexibility. If I start first on the footprint, as mentioned, we do have 179 users of the solution. We do have the technology more and more widely deployed, especially from a customer-facing point of view. And if a postal operator does not have CDS, we provide central APIs. So the requirement to have CDS is not a must. We do provide an API gateway for you to access the necessary information to offer a DDP service. It is highly modular. From the experience now, different components of the solution have been used by different posts. So we have a now onboarding process, which allows you then to adapt to your own specific origin post requirements and use the parts that make sense to you. I also want to point out that this solution is volume-based. So there's no flat fee, it's purely volume-based. And most importantly, we are looking at the settlement aspect, the work to have to adopt the UPU clearing solution has started, and we hope to have a working solution by the end of this year. On service providers, so earlier this year, we did highlight, this month, sorry, we did highlight that we are making progress to certify our providers for the DDP or the landed costs and various other lookups. Now I'm pleased to say we have 7 as listed there, and we are open to continuously onboard newer third-party and commercial providers for this service. So you're welcome. If you're interested to do this, you're welcome to contact the PTC. At the same time, for our postal operators, this means we bring for you choice. Finally, on payments method, in the previous slide, we showed the 3 ways you can do this, so I'll not repeat this. But the most important point is we provide payments options depending on the customer profile. So we handle all cases. Next slide, please. Now, I think we are all aware that starting off with the US, and I hope not with the EU, there has been impacts in terms of volumes. So we thought it would be good to bring to your attention what we do see at the PTC. On the left is a graph which shows the weekly volumes starting from the middle of the start of last year. The line in red is what you should be paying attention to, and the drop there you see was as a result of the implementation of the US executive order. The good news is, of course, with the rollout of the DDP solution, we are slowly recovering, or we're seeing a slow recovery in volumes. Now, it's important to also say that these statistics you're seeing here are only related to the postal operators who are using the UPU DDP solution. So as of this moment, 51 postal operators. So it's not the entire network. Which brings me to the right as just a snapshot of our dashboard showing what is happening on the network. We have 3 qualified parties now who are providing this service, and we hope again to add more and more providers. 51 postal operators are using our solution, and we see about 21,000 declarations on a daily basis. We always do remind you that we have a dedicated page for this activity. We try to keep it updated. We will be updating it now with the implementation for the EU as we go forward. So I just want to remind you that this is a centralized point from the PTC's perspective where we keep you up to date. Next slide, please. So this is my last slide for our WPSPs who are in the call, our CC members. First of all, this is all for your advantage. By getting certified by the PTC against its UPU technology, most importantly, you get access to the entire network. It's not just to one particular postal operator. You get a certificate signed by yours truly. You will also be listed on the UPU website under the second link, where we will highlight a contact point, a description of your service. So we invite you to contact the PTC to continue on this certification journey, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. For postal operators, the whole objective is that first point. We want to make sure that, first of all, the trust of these service providers is strengthened, the interconnection or the interoperability with our technology is secure and stable. And then finally, from a postal operator perspective, we give you choice. You will have a competitive landscape of operators from whom you can choose and change based on your discussions and negotiations with these service providers. So with that, I will stop, and I'll be happy to take any questions as part of the Q&A. David and I. Thank you.
Thank you, Lati. Message well delivered. Thank you very much indeed. Without any further ado, I would like to move to the short presentations of our consultative committee members on their particular market perspectives. First one will be Boxy. chat. Schofield, the co-founder and chief digital officer of Boxy. Sir, the floor is yours. Welcome. Please unmute yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm ready to start. You could put the first slide up. Boxy, just introduced, we're one of the certified UPU providers. We been providing this service to the US, so it's been working pretty smoothly now, and now we're preparing for the new changes. And this is about the EU, the changes that we're preparing for the EU. Our system is built to make it easy, take care of a lot of the complicated, complex issues and design, the collecting the €3 duty, making sure the that they're applied to line items, and also managing the payments. We can go to the next slide. So Boxy, what we do is we're just an orchestration layer is the best way to look at it. We work with multiple parties all around the world, multiple brokers around the world, all those, everything that's needed to cross a border for e-commerce shipping. As I say, we're vendor neutral, so we have multiple different providers. You can connect to any of those you'd like to use, or we have ones that are set up. We can always, we're always changing, always keeping, integrated with the different customs authorities if needed be, the different designated operators, even on the commercial side as well. And we're constantly integrating with everything that needs to be integrated with. So whenever things change, it's just a matter of using our service rather than having to integrate on yours. Next slide. So with the changes coming to the EU, which is just only a few days away, we've prepared for that. We're always managing all the data that comes through and making sure that the data is needed to clear customs and to make sure there's no problems or things get held or that sort of thing. Again, I think the big thing is a €3 customs duty. That's based on the each line item. So if there's two items that are the same, it's just only €3 rather than each being €3. So we automatically filter that and make sure those things are done when the data is coming through. Also, we're preparing for the product identifier and all the rules that are coming through, because this is actually more of a acceleration of what was planned in 2028. So we've always been planning for this. So this is all these things are being planned as we move forward. So this will also kind of what we do is make sure that's all in place. So it's a smooth move over to that. We can also help with how to deal with those PIDs and everything, those sorts of things. We do that already in the US for what they call the PGA or partner governmental agencies. Deal with those sorts of numbers and the supplier number or manufacturer ID. So this is something that's kind of the technology is already there and ready to use for the EU as well. We can go to the next slide. This is how we're working we're collecting all this data, and in partnership with PTC, especially with the UPU, they send us all the data that's needed. So we work very closely with them. So it's always, it's been working very well for the US. And how we look at it for the EU will be very, very similar, as they will pass on that information to us, and we can send that to the parties at the destination. How our system is now, there really won't be any needed changes from any of our clients or anyone using our system. The DDP workflow will work the very same as it does for the US. It will just be for the EU. There'll be different data elements required, and the payments process will be a little bit different. But generally speaking, from a user's point of view, they will just still send the data. The data will come through, and we'll take care of those processes. We will also, when we get that data, as well as we're working on for commercial e-commerce clearances as well. So a lot of times we're already set up to do the basically the data mapping of how things should be clearing in postal and clearance in the EU countries. So any changes that comes up or things that happen, we're prepared for. We can bring a lot of processes that is kind of in the commercial side onto the postal side when needed, when required. So we'll make that transition easy, and when that any changes that come up, such as the PIDs and things like that, it's prepared for. We'll also do a lot of pre-clearance validation. So we can check, again, this is kind of from the commercial side of things, but this is something that we can also offer, as needed on the postal clearances, is validating a lot of this information from the sender. We do have, you can use apps where a lot of this information is collected early on, and it can make sure that the sender is putting in the right information before it even gets started, and then restricting anything that may be prohibited, or things like or restricted, or needs more information, that sort of descriptions and things like that. This also kind of relates a bit to the US as well. That is changing as we move along, as those changes are coming along as well. Next slide. Here we manage the collection. We can manage the collection of and payment of the duties to the customs authorities around the EU. Again, we can do the collection directly from the sender, or just provide the designated operator what the duties will be and what needs to be collected, and then bill, and then we will pay the customs duties for the destination country as well. We also monitor a lot of these things, make sure everything's paid, make sure if any customs brokers are required in any of these countries. Each country is a little bit different. I think because you can see, I think in some of the earlier slides, each country has different ways they're handling it. Whether some are the declarant or the representative, we will take care of all those things. So in countries where the designated operator will handle, be the representative or handle those sorts of things, we can adapt to that. Or in countries where there needs to be a representative or a declarant, we'll manage that as well. And then I think in some of these things, and that comes with the filtering, or the part of our system is, it will designate operators that will not do DDP we can also catch that early on as well. Can also do the calculations as far as making sure everything is managed right, as far as if some of the senders already have their own ISS number, we manage that as that, or if there needs to be an ISS, representative for some customers, all the different ways that can be done. We already handle that and are prepared to handle that for any things that comes up through here. And as far as pricing, we're just very straightforward and transparent. So it's just a per fee, and that's all there is to it. Next slide. And that's the end here. Tani is, I think many of you probably are familiar with her, or know her. So always reach out to her and with any questions, and I can answer any questions as well, because we work together.
Chad, thank you very much indeed. Message very well delivered. Everybody knows Tony. She is the vice chair of the consultative committee.
Yeah.
Very well known, always present in
Yeah.
Bern. Thank you very much indeed. The IB collects the questions in the background already. So under agenda item 5, we will address those questions accordingly. I would like to move to the next presenter, which is Rostislav Shakhtakhtinskiy of EAS project. I know, I'm trying hard. Yeah, Rostislav, very good to have you here on board. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Good. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me here, Walter. It's interesting times, and everyone is very much looking forward to the 1st of July to see what happens. Can we have our presentation on that? Yeah. Okay. Can we go to the next? Sorry, my throat is a little bit sore today. So just a few words about EAS. So we are the leading provider of the automation for e-commerce. So our main business is IOSS, and basically what I'm going to be talking today about is IOSS and the €3 duty, how it will work in the new setup, which is going to unfold in a few days, and some of the issues which are still open, and they might affect both the postal operators and non-postal logistics service providers who operate on the parcel market. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, general rules. Again, a lot of things have been said about the €3 duty. I will not go very deep in there. So, of course, it is only applicable to the distance sale of goods imported from third countries, so technically B2C. I will come back to that a little bit later as well. So it's applicable to the sales below 150. So it's basically the area where IOSS used to be and still is applicable. So the big difference for everyone is that the duties is payable at the national customs. Unlike it was initially introduced within the IOSS scheme, when the VAT was collected by the intermediaries like us and paid directly to the EU member states. So now we have a new segment of collection, and that's national customs. We tried to talk to TaxUD that this function would be still transferred to the EU, to IOSS intermediaries, but the decision was very much set on transferring this to the national customs. So it's how it's going to be. So, and the one final thing which is very important for our discussion today is the role of the IOSS number holder at customs, or presumed role, as it is explained into the explanatory notes which were provided by TaxUD. Can we please go to the next slide? So what we expected when the whole thing was unfolded in February. So initial expectations were very grim. We expected that there will be a lot of dropouts from the IOSS scheme, and that the commercial activity will take over without the use of the IOSS. But, well, of course, our expectations were based on lack of legislation, which is in abundance nowadays. And then we had to presume a lot of things. But from our perspective now, we can see that IOSS registrations are actually rising, and very quickly. So we have twice as many registrations this month compared to the previous month. So it actually shows that the IOSS scheme still stays on, and it will still play the active role in the parcel business. So a few words about the commercial carriers. So we are in contact with many. So of course, everyone gets prepared. So they will provide solutions for €3 collection and payment with landed costs. Almost every commercial carrier we've spoken to so far, they are offering these services now. Some of the offers will be very inexpensive. So that will create a new market situation for everyone who is in this business. So when it comes to the postal operators, of course, well, PDDP probably will be the most reliable solution for the delivery of low-value consignments in the postal world. But it actually has quite a few setbacks, which are, from the perspective of our customers, might change their mind from using postal world. I will come back to that later. Preparedness. So since our customers are mostly e-commerce operators, so we are basically integrated to their stores. So we know what happens in the store, and we are in the so we apply our landed cost very often, and we know how the process of calculation and collection happens. I can tell you that most of the e-commerce platforms have not prepared properly for the change. Some of them are taking the last-minute steps. For example, Shopify published information on the €3 just 2 days ago. So technically, Shopify will be providing the calculations. We don't know if the calculations will be correct or not, but we hope it will work somewhat. So postal operators, I don't want to stop here on this particular point because it has already been presented. And as I said, commercial solutions, they will be competing with postal operators very much, and then specifically on the level of non-supported countries. Again, I will come a little bit later on the reasoning for that. So in my understanding, that the IOSS is here to stay, whether €3 duty or not. And we will still see the whole situation unfolding in the next month, and we expect that from the 1st of July it will not be a very clear and precise picture of what is happening. So we're preparing to support our customers as much as we can, but there will be a lot of aspects where there will be misunderstandings and probably a lot of delays in the deliveries to the European Union. So can we go to the next one, please? So the main challenges. So as we see it, because again, our perspective is from the IOSS intermediary, so it might be a little bit off-key for solution providers and for volume providers, but still probably is very interesting for you to hear. So first, €3 duty in segmented supply chain. What we call a segmented supply chain is when basically the merchant, as our customer normally does, does not support the whole control the supply chain. So in the process of postal delivery, there is originating postal operator, there is the destination postal operator, and then the data, money, and a responsibility is transferred in between them. That creates essentially a problem, because if you compare the situation to the Chinese marketplaces, they usually control the supply chain. So technically, they actually know where every single parcel will come through customs in the European Union. That makes the situation for SMEs in the UK, in the US, much less clear, and probably they would be very much affected negatively of the whole by the whole change. Second thing, it's the place of collection. This is a problem which was basically fixed. The date is wrong here on the 16th of June, so just a few days ago. The problem is that we, as IOSS intermediary, were responsible for VAT. VAT is to be collected at the moment of the sale, but technically, €3 duty is collectible at a later stage and in a different place. And even at the moment of the sale, we cannot be sure if it's going to be €3 or €6 or €9. We don't know that. We can presume, but we don't know. So technically, there was a problem since the VAT, since the duty is part of the VAT base for the customs purposes. So the question was whether we have to collect somehow the VAT on €3. And so we asked our DG Taxud to clarify this on many, many occasions. And finally, on the 16th of June, amendments were published to the VAT e-commerce notes, which clarified the situation very much in favor of IOSS. So the situation goes now like that. This is very important, specifically since everyone is building their own landed cost calculation. So VAT for IOSS items is not collectible on the €3 duty, while it is still collectible on the situation with special arrangement or normal imports. So technically, if an item goes as IOSS, it will be less expensive by approximately, well, the duty, so to say, will be less expensive by 20%. This is the new development, so that will probably give additional incentive to the IOSS registrations. But one important note here is that this solution was published as an amendment to the VAT e-commerce note. So it's not technically a legal document. So Taxud has not been able to implement this legally, entirely legally. Of course, it is still a document published by the European Commission. It will be used, but that creates a lot of questions, technical questions, on whether it will be fully accepted by the customs and by the local tax authorities. So it needs to be still seen. And final question that might be interesting here to discuss is the VAT on the future to handling fee, which is probably will be introduced in November. The current decision is there will be no VAT on the to handling fee, so it will be considered as a service provided by customs. And then it's not subject to the VAT. So that's something that needs to be known, especially for those who actually create their own landed cost calculations. So let's go to the next one. So this is one of the most interesting things which is happening. The question is whether the free trade agreements will be applicable for the B2C deliveries. So unfortunately, this is the old version of the presentation. I hope that the new one will be sent to you. But again, the situation goes as such that the available legislation including the customs guidance, the amendments to delegated act, the amendments to the implementing act, treat of free trade agreements in terms of application towards the B2C low value consignment differently. My opinion is that it is applicable. I mean, the free trade agreements can be applied, provided that H1 custom declaration is used and that the proper HS codes are included with the supplementary documents for the origin of the goods. Again, this is something that remains to be seen. We will probably see further deliberations of these cases in the European Court of Justice, because, well, you can actually check it yourself. I piled up this table specifically for the participants to have a look and make their own mind on that. But this is something that makes it very strange in the way how the whole legislation was built. It was built hastily, it seems, and without due consideration to detail. Let's go to the next slide. So, and it's probably the final one for me. So, for postal operators, as I said, we believe that IOSS will be one of the essential components for the postal operators to handle the DPP type of a solution. Not only because IOSS makes it less expensive to the end customer, but also because the VAT is not to be collected at the customs if IOSS is used. That rule still stays. So DIP, as we heard, still will be probably used by some of the postal operators. This is also for some destination, and this is what I see from my communication with postal operators, and we expect that the situation will progressively change over time. And again, in the long run, we still are waiting for the final implementation of VIDA rules. And then, as we expect in 2028, the rules will change again. And then the duties, however they will be applied, they will be collected through the IOSS intermediaries. Well, next one, please. So that is it.
Thank you, Rostislav. Very interesting market insights. I'm very happy that we are recording this webinar to the benefit of all our participants, and we will share that after the webinar. But we are a little bit pressed for time, so I'm moving straight to Hurricane. Thank you, Rostislav. Hurricane, Martin Palmer, co-founder of Hurricane. Martin, the floor is yours, please. Thank you.
Should get in a couple of minutes here, Walter, all being well. Good afternoon. I'm Martin Palmer from Hurricane and a proud member of the Consultative Committee. I'd like to talk about the EU Product Identifier, or PID, and what it means in practical terms for postal operators and the wider parcel ecosystem. This is an important topic because PID sits within the EU low-value import reform for consignments up to 150 euros. Mainly in B2C distant sales flows, but it's had far less coverage than the low value threshold removal and has the same dates of implementation. In simple terms, the aim is to improve item level traceability and give customs authority better product data for risk analysis. What Hurricane does, before we actually get into PID, let me briefly explain where Hurricane fits in. Hurricane Commerce turns commercial product data into customs-ready data by classifying goods, calculating landed cost, screening for compliance, and automating the customs data that moves with every parcel. In other words, we work at the point where product data, compliance, and operational execution all come together. This is an important topic because that makes PID particularly relevant, because this is fundamentally a data quality and data organizational challenge, and not just a customs formality as such. Next slide, please. At a high level, PID is not one brand new code issued by an authority. In practice, it is a bundle of identifiers that already exist in commercial product data. If you can go back to the previous slide, I'll let you know when to change, please. Typically, that means the merchant's product code, the manufacturer's part or model number, and where available, a standardized identifier such as the GTIN, EAN, UPC, or ISBN number. The challenge is not registration. It is capture, structure, and consistent transmission. PIDs are not required for B2B VAT registered recipients or shipments with an intrinsic value of 150 euros or above, just to make things a little bit more complicated for us all. Next slide, please. In the EU reformed context, PID is a set of item-level identifiers used for low-value imports into the EU. It has three parts: the MPID, which is the merchant product identifier, usually the seller's SKU; NSPID, the non-standardized identifier, usually the manufacturer's part or model number; and the SPID, the standardized identifier such as GTIN, ISBN numbers where one exists. Next slide, please. The reason the EU has introduced PID is straightforward. Customs authorities want a more stable way to link declared items to actual products so they can improve compliance, safety, and fraud screening. This matters even more now that the low-value environment is becoming more controlled and more data-driven. The wider implication is that marketplaces, posts, and carriers will need far stronger catalog governance, better invoice detail, and tighter data transfer disciplines. Next slide, please. In practice, a PID is built from existing commercial master data. The merchant's SKU becomes the MPID, the manufacturer's part or model number becomes the NSPID, and any recognized as standard codes become the SPID. So the important message here is you do not need to apply for a PID from an authority. You can build it from data you already hold and make sure it flows into the customs declaration process. Obviously, a lot of the people that are on the call today are transporters one way or another of these commodities. So it's our customers as such that will need to provide this information for us to transport. Next slide, please. PID is also not a single EU-wide number format. The standardized element, so the ISBN codes, for example, the SPID is the most structured because it can be an existing format as an ECN, ISBN, or a similar code. By contrast, the merchant and manufacturer identifiers are often free-form alphanumeric values and used in commercial back-end systems. The operational focus should be less on inventing a format and more on the importance of data capture, validation, and consistency. Next slide, please. PID is not filed through a separate portal. There isn't a new channel or a new stream as such to transport this data. It is captured in the sellers or platform catalogs and shipping workflows, and then passed through invoice data or API connections into carrier and postal messages. Companies, sellers, manufacturers, etc., are being asked to show this information on the commercial invoice, for example, and any other supporting document. From there, it will support pre-arrival filing and low-value customs declarations processes. For posting carriers, the real question is not where to file the PID, but how to ensure that the right item level data moves cleanly through existing electronic flows. Now, I guess an important point to make here is, whereas what we're talking about with the €3 fee being at a HS level, obviously 5 t-shirts, for example, could all have different SKU numbers. So each one of those t-shirts would then require their own PID, even though it may be the same HS code. If it's a different SKU number, then it is a different PID as such. Can we go to the next slide, please? The timelines are tight, but very clear. A voluntary system starts on the 1st of July, so on Wednesday, alongside the EU removal of the low-value customs exemption. And operators are already being encouraged to have their PIDs data flowing, so systems and data quality can be stabilized. It has been so poorly communicated, this whole process, that I would be very surprised to see too many companies already being in the place that they've got this data available to flow through the system. And then from November, so only really about 4 months, PID enforcement begins for in-scope, low-value shipments into the EU. The transition window is short, and obviously the time to prepare is 3 months ago. But obviously we're talking about it now as such. So if we move on to the next slide, please. What should operators do now? First, update sender portals and APIs to capture the SKU, model or part number, and the standardized code where available. Second, map that data through invoices, messaging and declaration outputs with field level validation and exception handling. Third, train operational and customer service teams, run pilot traffic with selected merchants, and monitor fill rates and error rates. At an executive level, this should be treated as data, as part of a data governance program, and not just a change requirement for customs. I think it's also important to just mention here that the standardized references, for example, they won't be available for anything, everything. But if it's a book, then you may have a SKU, you may have a model or part reference number, and you may have an ISBN number in the case of books. All 3 pieces of information will be required. Next slide, please. So just to close, PID is not about inventing a new identifier. It's about making existing product identifiers usable, reliable, and transferable across cross-border data chains. For postal operators, the organizations that do best here will be the ones that treat product data as strategic operational asset, not just back office details. Thank you very much.
Martin, thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Hurricane. From our perspective, the Consultative Committee, this again was a very good example of how Consultative Committee members share know-how to the benefit of designated operators. Thank you, Martin, for that. And with that, I would like to move to our colleagues from the International Post Corporation. Chris, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hey, Walter, thank you so much. And just start with a sound check. You can hear me okay, I guess.
Perfectly. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thanks so much to the UPU for putting on this webinar, and a specific thanks to you and to the Consultative Committee for allowing IPC to join. You can go on to the next slide if you want. International Post Corporation, of course, our mission and goal in life is to support postal operators in growth in cross-border e-commerce and to provide solutions that help them get through the things like the storm of the UCC in order to continue to grow. You can go to the next slide. I'll try to get some time back for you. But I think for those of you who may not be aware of who IPC is, we're for the posts and by the posts. 35 years in business in terms of leading the growth of the solutions for the postal sector, where shareholders are the posts themselves. So we're a postal collaborative that's not for profit. 24 different designated operators are the essential owners of IPC and guide us and help us along the way. We have more than 50 services that are used by the posts. Many of those have to do with customs duty and tax. And then we connect those services into more than 200 different posts and carriers around the world. So quite good reach. And just as it's always helpful to say up front, if you ever want to get in touch with IPC, we're open to any post of any size around the globe who would want to connect to one of our services. You can go to the next slide. I think, one of our goals is to try to stay ahead of the curve. I liked what Martin said about, having to have this discussion 3 months ago. That's completely true. We've been trying in our technology build out specific to e-commerce to anticipate market trends and try to work through the different regulatory impacts. Our PDDP, so our postal delivered duties paid product that I'll talk about today, it's actually going on its 6th or 7th year in the market, far longer than I've been at IPC. And I do think it's important to state up front, one of the things about delivery duties paid, before it became a regulatory imperative, it's been a customer imperative. And it is shown to be quite a loyalty driver in the market. Customers tell us time and time again that what they really value is clarity to total landed cost when they're making a purchase. So when I buy my shoes, I live in Belgium. When I buy my shoes from the US or from the UK, I want to know exactly how much it's going to cost to get those shoes to my door. And I usually don't want any kind of surprises that can ruin my day at the doorstep. And that's how you really do kill customer loyalty. That comes across time and time again in the IPC research. So we do our cross-border shopper survey. We're 9 in 10, so 90% of respondents, and this is the #1 driver in terms of importance when buying cross-border, tell us clear information around delivery charges before placing an order is important. So #1 factor. The second factor, no doubt, is low customs duties. So almost the same amount, 84% tell us low customs duties are a big driver in terms of cross-border. So I think no more pertinent discussion than the one we're having today. You can go to the next slide. And to solve challenges for the customers and for the postal operators that we serve, we've launched our postal delivered duties paid product. It's an end-to-end solution for duty and tax collection for the postal world, which includes both tracking and reconciliation and reporting technologies to make life easier on the posts. You can go to the next slide. This is a slide that I simply can't update fast enough because of the growth that we've seen in terms of our PDDP usage coming off the back of the US de minimis removal in August of 2025. I think as of this morning, we're now up to 44 posts who are on the PDDP solution, with more than half of those using our US application. 11 million shipments at the time when I made the slide. I'm sure this is 12 or 13 million by this time, but 12 or 13 million shipments into the United States post de minimis. That was one of the big wins to helping the post win back and win more on that lane. And then I think posts have already started, from as early as February to have discussions with us around the UCC changes that were coming up. Many of the more proactive ones have already started to implement the technologies to be able to support, as Martin said, the data capture and the different elements that are coming on Wednesday morning. We've already seen a 200% increase, for example, in terms of the non-US PDDP numbers. So quite a robust system. And if you go to the next slide, I'll kind of walk you through how it works. So I can tell you really 50,000-foot view around the journey of a PDDP shipment. One slide back, I'm sorry. And very simple. You can think of this as me again buying my shoes in Belgium from a United States website. The e-buyer is going to make a cross-border purchase, so duties, taxes, fees can all be collected by the merchant. That way the funds are remitted up front. The e-seller, so that guy who's shipping the package to me, he's going to create a PDDP shipment using one of the designated operator's outbound products. So it could be, let's say, postal PDDP. The sending post, or even a third party today, as we now have allowed technology partners to join the party in PDDP. He's going to upload transactional data to our PDDP server and open a PDDP record. That's now visible across the globe to the PDDP postal operators who participate, so they can see that there's a PDDP shipment in the network. The destination post will recognize that there's an incoming PDDP. He knows that the duties and taxes have essentially been agreed to be prepaid. Shipment is customs cleared, doesn't have to have any, notification to a recipient to collect money. It's much smoother, much faster through customs. Destination post will then update the actual duty and taxes paid to be able to then invoice the sending post. And at the point where they invoice the sending post, that's when the transaction is closed. The sending post will pay the destination post outside of the PDDP mechanism. So very simple for post to implement. You can go to the next slide. Yeah, specific to the UCC changes that are coming on Wednesday, we've beefed up our PDDP technology so that we're ready to support volume in many of the markets in Europe in 2026 and beyond, because I think as we've learned today, it does not stop on Wednesday, July 1st. The changes will be continuous. We've developed a new transactional API, so a V2 API for PDDP, and all of that documentation, if you're interested to join, is fully available. That includes capture for the extended data set, the PIDs, that Martin had referenced in his presentation, as well as this new concept of a third-party declarant. So we can capture and input their IORI so that the posts have access to all of that information. And then, of course, that's all backed up by our PDDP framework agreement and the government's governance. So we ascribe liability, we handle power of attorney support, we do a lot of different kind of addenda that help the post manage the ins and outs of PDDP. I won't go into the ins and outs of the technology map. That's not my forte, but I will say that we're also working closely with David and Lati and the UPU PTC team on looking at how we might launch interoperable solutions between the UPU and IPC's PDDP product. I'm sure we'll get there in a future webinar. You can go to the next slide. There we go. Multiple ways to connect into IPC's PDDP product. Just so you guys know, it's not a one-size-fits-all shop. We also like to give our postal operators choices. I won't go through all of the detail on this slide, but essentially you've got three paths today. The first is the IPC PDDP standard approach. So there you would sign a framework agreement and a deed of accession. They all use the same transactional API. They all use the same PDDP reporting. You can also go via Prime. If you're a member of the Prime network, we have a special alliance with the Prime network, so you can access PDDP via that alliance. That's a different memorandum that you'd need to sign, but again, most of the things on the back end are the same. And then as of Friday, so you can change the coming soon to recently launched, we've added a third-party technology provider program. So some of the larger third-party technology providers in the market, like Azonos, can now create PDDPs on behalf of an outbound post. In that case, you'd contract with them, and they handle a lot of the development work. So different means and methodologies for different size posts who want to connect to IPC because it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. You can go to the next slide. Just check my time here. If you want to get up and running, and I'll cover this one very quickly. I mean, the most important thing, if you want to be ready to go, is to clearly communicate the desire to IPC. You can contact me directly if you like. There are a couple of light NDAs to sign before we can share kind of the detailed, more technical information. After that, we would connect you into our API gateway so that you can begin development. We always get asked, how long does it take to code PDDP if I'm a postal operator? I can tell you our world record is 2 weeks for a very motivated post during the US changes. It usually varies between a couple weeks and a few months. You'd align with our import partners, and then we'll help you out on go to launch. And I think that the last slide, and I'll close it there, is just the core contact information. And if you want to find out more, you can write us via our help desk, or again, contact me directly. And I think, Walter, it's back to you.
Thank you, Chris. And again, very good for all the participants in the webinar. There is choice, there are solutions, there are companies and providers ready to go. And I'm very eager to hand over as fast as possible to Christophe. Christophe from EasyTech. The floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much, Walter. Thank you very much, and thank you for all the UPU team to give us the opportunity to speak today. We are very glad to take the word now. Let's go to the next slide. So today we will speak about address validation because, like it has been said previously by my colleague and partner, with the address, it's the different change here concern mostly B2C. There is a real B2C engagement here, and then we saying B2C means that you can have some address problem because everything will be managed by the person that will order online. So this is the subject of today, the custom bottleneck. From our perspectives and the tax, it's really the address, and we are here to speak about address reliability validation for minimal cost, and we can go to the next session. Who are we to speak about this? So EasyTech International, we are specialists in the sorting and track and trace. For the sorting, we are working with some private and public post with the sorting machine for the mail and also the parcels. And we also have an entity for track and trace and locker, connected locker to automatize the last mile delivery. We are also specialists in cutting edge innovation to optimize through AI and software the different logistic flow. And we can go to the next slide. So the problem that we will speak about today is with Christophe. Here it is, and Christophe, I let you the mic for explaining the numbers.
Yes, thanks, Heddy. In order to clarify the problem, we want to share two figures. The first one is 5% of the B2C delivery addresses don't exist on official cadastral plans or worldwide database. Again, but you know it, just keep in mind that we talk only about the B2C market, and that's very, very important on this market, that the end user will write his own postal address with potential human errors. And it explains the second figures, 25% of poorly drafted address generate geocoding errors that impact deliveries. So an invalid address impacts custom declarations and delivery failures as well. Heddy, I'll let you explain the consequence.
Yeah, exactly. We identify 4 consequences, and the first one is the loss of margin, because in fact, no matter where the parcel is ahead, if it can be delivered, it still costs to you. The terminal dues, custom fees, everything that has been explained by all my friends before. So for a parcel that never reach out its destination, it's quite expensive. So it's brutal loss of margin. Second one is the loss of confidence, because when a parcel fails to be delivered, the shipper has paid for logistics and custom fees, and all this for nothing. And generally, the first reaction is to blame the carrier, never himself. On the top of that, legally, an undelivered parcel means a full refund to the end customer. Someone has to absorb that loss, and it's rarely the shipper. Mm-hmm. In third position, it concerns the branding. A consequence on the branding: when the delivery fails, the recipient never blames himself for the wrong address. He blames the e-merchant every single time. And then the number back this up, it's 70% of purchase decisions are directly influenced by logistics. That's why today we try to make a focus on the address, because it's very important. There is a studies from the FIVA, the French Distance Selling Federation, confirms it. Trust in the delivery chain is a make or break factor for online sales. One bad delivery experience, it's one lost customer, and possibly forever. We all like when everything is going smooth with our parcel that we are waiting. And for you, Post, your competitors don't necessarily handle bad addresses better than you do. That's a very important thing. But they invest heavily in the recovery. They call the recipient, they send messages on application, they even ring at the neighbors, whatever it takes to find the recipient and complete the delivery at any cost. And the perception-wise, it makes a big difference. This concern has actually reached the highest level of our industry, because just as a reminder, at the 28th UPU World Postal Congress in Dubai, my colleague Gora was there, and the erosion of national post share in the parcel delivery market was formally acknowledged. It's a shared challenge, and addressing it starts with the quality of the data that you are entering in your network. And that's why we wanted today to present you something about this, because my conclusion of this slide is that you didn't create the problem, but you're paying for it anyway. Whether it's your fault or not, when a shipper submits a bad address, you're the one paying the price. These addresses are never validated upstream before they even enter in the network. And yet you, National Post, are the one left holding the consequences. So you didn't create the problem, you are paying for it anyway. And we can go to the next slide. Very quick, why we are speaking about all of this today? Because EasyTech International has made a partnership with certain group to put in place AI-based solution directly integrated in CDS that allow all the posts to validate and correct the address, the address. And we will present you this in a few minutes. Let's go to the next slide. Very quick. Why me and Christophe are here today to introduce this? Because for my part, I'm working from 10 years in a software-led logistic project for mail and parcel optimization. And my colleague, Christophe, you can introduce yourself.
Yes, quickly as well, I'm the CEO for Short and Group Solution. I support a partner on our solution. It could be setup, it could be day-to-day use and more. Thanks to my professional experience, I was purchase director for Fnac and Carrefour during around 25 years. I also know very well the B2C transfer, but yes, let's move forward on the solution.
So the aim of the solution we are introducing today is to enable address validation directly on the UPU CDS platform. Like I said, it's an AI-based solution. It works on for the addresses of 240 countries with 99% of validation quality and 200 API requests per second, so very powerful API. It's UPU certified. We will explain this later, but you can find this directly. The aim is to solve all the address problem, because now with all the change that my friend explained before, the cost for every bad address will be absolutely skyrocketing. And we can go to the next slide. So just a quick screenshot to show you where you can find this new tab on CDS app. It's directly on the CDS. You have a tab naming address validation provider, when you can directly copy paste a token that will allow you to access this service. And we can go to the next slide. Maybe Christophe, it's your turn here, no?
No, it's yours. It's yours.
Okay.
You can move forward.
Perfect. Thank you. So while the other stop at verifying the structure and the other stop at verifying the existence of the country, the city, and the street, we, with our address validation solution, we're verifying the structure, but we also validate the address against the government records. And if the address is invalid, we provide the reason for the rejection. This is another strong point about the branding and your brand image, because that means that you can provide the specific reason of the rejection. And by saying that, you can upgrade your quality service by bringing the proper justification to your customer. And we can go to the next slide.
So to summarize, thanks to this option in your CDS platform, you will fix problem described in the beginning of this presentation. Yes, you will improve customer satisfaction. You will transfer responsibility to shippers. You will handle less after-sales services. You will optimize your margin, and also you are going to earn market share. But I would like to focus on the two last advantage. The first one, but we can't. Next slide, perhaps, because we can't show. Yes, thanks.
Yeah, perfect.
So for the last two advantage, first, zero investment. There is no development cost at the solution, as it is an option already integrated into the CDS platform. And the valid address for free, you have to understand that unlike our competitors, only invalid addresses are invoices. If you submit 1,000 addresses and only 50 are invalid, you will only pay for the 50 invalid ones. And that's very important, I think. Next slide. Yes, we have it. So just back, you could go back. So to summarize, you have just to send an email to us. You will receive the token, and immediately your IT team will be able to activate the service into the CDS platform. That's as simple as it is. So thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much indeed, Christophe and Heddy. Again, a different angle, different consultative committee member, very much focused on one of the major aspects on quality of service, that is addressing with a UPU certified by the PTC application to the benefit of designated operators. Obviously very powerful. Thank you very much indeed for that. We have still 7 minutes to go, and I'm looking for the support now of my consultative committee secretariat for the questions and answers. Unfortunately, we had a little technical problem in the background. I know that the customs group and also the PTC have been answering a lot of questions already in the background, but I'm waiting now for the support of the consultative committee in the background for questions. For Mr. Palmer, regarding pre-arrival filing, what about the recipient's address? Do you verify the delivery? Is that already enshrined also in the product of Hurricane? Please, a short answer to that question.
If I understand that correct, Walter, are we talking about address validation?
Yes, please.
Yeah, no, Hurricane is not a supplier of address validation services.
Thank you. Are we expecting the UPU CN form template to change to include product IDs? That's a question directed to the UPU, perhaps one of the co-chairs of the customs group or Javier. Could you answer that, please? So I guess Christophe is not online anymore. Javier, are you online? Javier, please take the floor.
Hi, Walter. Thank you for giving me the floor. And I'd like to maybe, if you could repeat the question, is related to the product identifiers, and that's whether they will be taken up in regulations or in standards, or so what is the question exactly?
The question is, are we expecting the UPU CN form template to change to include the product ID?
No, we're not expecting the CN forms to change. These are customs declaration forms that are agreed between the WCO and the UPU. We do have a consultation process open with the WCO, but we do not expect them to change before November. The WCO UPU Contact Committee will take place on 4th and 5th of November, and this is just one of the many items that will be discussed. The current position of most of the stakeholders involved is that as the number of data elements increase, it may make more sense to start considering some of these data elements to be provided electronically rather than on the customs declaration form, where they may not be sufficient space to print on a paper form or a label and place this on the physical item. Thank you, Walter.
Thank you, Javier. So much more work to be done also on UPU level. Earlier, there was a comment about free trade agreements. So I guess this is directed to Rostislav. Are these going to be honored on H7, H6, H1 clearance for low value goods?
All right.
Smaller than 150 euros, or will the €3 be applied regardless of customs clearance type when they are low value consignments, smaller than 150 euros? Rostislav.
As I said, this is a very much open question for the time being. But if you ask from the perspective of a merchant who operates through the postal operators, just work with the presumption that it's not. Because first of all, it's only if the H1 declaration is used, which is rather inaccessible for postal operators yet on the customs level. And then the whole approach, as I stated in my presentation, is very much the discussion item so far. So for the time being, I would answer, this is not available to you, but you have to monitor the situation, and probably in a couple of months, if and when it comes through the court system in the European Union, it might become possible to do it. Yet the position of the customs that I've spoken so far is that it's not going to be honored if there is the distant sale of goods. So as much as I can say now, sorry.
Yeah, thank you very much. Of course, the Consultative Committee, in close collaboration with the POC Customs Group, will monitor the ongoing developments for sure. One last summary question. If the sending post does not have a signed agreement with a European designated operator or third party for delivery duty paid, does that mean sending countries will not send outbound of the affected criteria around 150 euros to EU member countries from the 1st of July 2026 onwards? That's a very valid question. Perhaps, Javier, you might clarify that question and that fear of stopping mail being sent, because one of the main focuses of the UPU is to keep mail flowing. Javier, please.
Sorry, could you elaborate on the question? Because
there seems to be a fear by designated operators that if they have not established an agreement with European designated operators for delivery duty paid or any other third party for handling these items, that they might have to stop outbound into the European Union. Is that a fear which is valid, or does the UPU Act prevail?
Well, maybe let me first clarify that not all European Union countries are requesting the use of DDP or requesting the signing of a bilateral agreement. So I think that's the first point that needs to be clarified. The second point is that most of the European Union's designated operators that are requesting the use of a DDP tool, they are requesting it for IOSS items. So these are items from commercial senders that I believe are already paying VAT into the IOSS. So the European DOs at destination feel unable to process those items, or some of the European DOs at destination are unable to process those items unless it's within a DDP scheme. But for all other items, most of these European DOs are able to process them with a delivered at place solution or a similar arrangement. There's this post-Europe table that we shared the link to at the beginning of the webinar. Please review that. It includes for each country their specificities. And maybe just one last word on this response is that in all cases, the European designated operators have requested us to communicate that C2C items under 45 euros are exempt from these requirements. So there's no need to stop all traffic to Europe. The C2C under 45 euro are exempt from these requirements. There are also there's the special case of items over 150 euro, which are also not processed and not subject to this 3 euro fee, but they are subject to an H1 full customs declaration. Yeah. But they already are, so there's no change there. So for those items that you're sending over 150 euro today, with the current process, you will be able to continue doing that afterwards.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Walter. I'm sorry if I extended my
response, no. This was very important because it brings us back to the whole deck of this webinar, which will be shared with all participants. Javier was kind enough to mention certain links, which will be updated as the situation develops. Ladies and gentlemen, I would very much like to thank today for sharing all that information, all that insight from different angles. I'm very grateful to the consultative committee members to have done that. And please bear with us. The Secretariat will reach out to you and share both the deck and the recording later today or in the coming days. With that, I would like also to thank the CC team in the background for all their very, very valid work putting together the webinar. I would like to thank the interpreters and thank you for participating. Thank you very much. Till the next time. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Не, почему?